Hey y'all, welcome to the very first episode of 2021. Happy New Year, you guys. I am so excited for the new year. Hopefully yours is off to a fantastic start and you've made some goals for yourself. That's always my favorite part of the new year. I know I can make goals any other time of the year, but at the very beginning of the year, it just feels like a fresh start. So my goals, I have a lot of creative goals, shocking, but one of them is making Brave Kids Art Club even better. So stay tuned for some really cool changes coming to Brave Kids Art Club, and all this is possible because of you guys. Thank you so much for watching these videos. One thing you could do for me though, that'd be a really big help this year, is sharing this channel with your friends who you think would like to draw with me. That would be a really big help. And also, if you have any ideas for this channel, you can go to Instagram, since you can't do it here on YouTube, there's no way to comment, but you can go on Instagram at our Brave Kids Art Club account and just direct message us any ideas that you have. But anyways, enough about all the housekeeping stuff, let's get ready to draw. I thought it was fitting just to start the New Year's off right drawing an animal today. So we're gonna be drawing a very specific type of water buffalo called a CARABAO. Yes, there's a story about this animal, but let's make sure first that we have all of our tools so we're ready to draw. All right, make sure you have a nice clean sheet of paper. You're also gonna need a pencil for our sketching. Really important, make sure you have a pencil. It would help if you had an eraser of some type too, because we're gonna have to erase some of those lines at the end. That's why I have a few handy here, because at the very end, we're gonna be doing an outline with a dark marker or a pen. I have a Sharpie here to do the outline, and then we're gonna erase all that pencil afterwards, all the sketch. And then at the very end, we're gonna do some coloring, which is one of my favorite parts of all this. So make sure you have some sort of coloring devices. It could be crayons, paint, whatever you guys want. I'm using markers, but you can use whatever you want. So of course, we're gonna first start off with our sketch, but before we do that, I wanna explain to you really quickly why this animal means so much to me. So I actually used to live in the Philippines, and I did so for 2 years right out of high school. I was serving a mission for my church, and when I lived there, I saw this animal all over the place. It's actually the national animal of the Philippines. And so you can see it right here is a little sculpture that I have, a little wooden carving of a CARABAO. And what was really cool about these animals is that you kind of saw them everywhere. I lived in a lot of rural areas, so that meant I saw a lot of rice fields, which Philippines is known for producing rice. So they have these massive rice fields that were really muddy. And these CARABAOs were really good in the fields helping the farmers because they're strong and they did really well in the water, in the mud. So, and we'll talk more about that, but just a little, call out to the time that I spent in the Philippines. And it's just a really cool animal. It's really fun to draw. So let's go ahead and start sketching. Okay, so let's start with the head. I'm actually gonna have it looking towards us. And so that way we can kind of see those really distinct horns on there that are curved back, really big curved horns. I'm not sure how clear that is on it. Here we go. You can see that right there. So that's kind of what I wanted. If I do it from the side, you can't really see that all that much. So I kind of want to have a down view of their face. So I'm going to kind of move it over here. Now, since we're sketching, we're just adding in kind of gestures of where things are going to be. So I'm going to kind of do a kind of an oval right here to kind of figure out where that head's going to be. Maybe draw a little curve where I think the horns are going to be. Again, this is a really loose. That means really quick. Don't press too hard on your paper. I just kind of want to see if I can get this stuff in the right spots on the page. And their body is really big and pretty round. So kind of round it off there. Let's see. We got their ears right there. Now, if I'm moving too quick for you, that's okay. This is just, like I said, just trying to gauge where things are going to live on the page. So I might add kind of where the ground's going to be. Might make that a little bit bigger right there. The body, those horns are pretty big. Let's just kind of say the legs are going to be about that long. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I know where it's going to be at. This is not what it's going to look like. Let's go ahead now and start drawing in a little bit slightly darker lines to kind of figure out the actual forms. So now that we know it's going to be about this big, let's go ahead and let's start making more definite lines. So I'm going to draw a little line on the top here for the top of their head, and then a little slanted line on the side here where the horns are going to connect to the head. Actually, I can make them a little bit longer here. There we are. And then I'm just going to round them off over here. So this is going to be a very symmetrical face, so it's going to be the same on both sides if you drew a line right down the middle. So I kind of like to work at the same time instead of drawing one side then the other. It kind of helps me kind of see it all together. So now I'm just going to kind of go in a little bit, like this. I might have to kind of pull in a little bit more, but this is a good start. And then from here, I'm going to draw a line, because this is going to kind of separate the nose off the, off the snout here. You're going to separate the nose because it's a slightly different color and texture on the animal. So, and then I'm going to kind of do a little curve bit right here. There we go. So if this other stuff now is getting in your way, go ahead and erase that stuff underneath it. It kind of can be a little distracting. But now that's kind of the shape that we have here for the mouth and the nose area. Perfect. I think it looks pretty good. So now let's add those big horns, because that's a really iconic part, right? Those big, big sweeping horns. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a little curve right here and have them come back. There's lots and lots of different types of water buffalo, but what's special about this one is that it's native to the Philippines. That means that's where it originated. It came from the Philippines. And you can see this specific type of water buffalo, the CARABAO. You can find it in Guam, another island, another country. And you can also find it in Malaysia. But it's originally from the Philippines. So they take great pride in the fact that this is an animal that came from the Philippines. And they just love these animals because they're gentle, but they're also very, very helpful to them in their lifestyle. Like, they help them out in the rice fields, which is really, really hard work. I've accidentally stepped in a rice field before. There's little paths that you have to follow that are just hard ground, but in between where all the rows are for the rice, they flood the fields, and that helps the rice actually grow. So they grow in these really wet environments. So when you actually step on those areas, it goes kind of sucks you under there. And I got my whole leg once. And so they really need a big, strong animal that can walk through that and kind of wade through all of that. And that's what they have in these CARABAOs, these water buffalo. They can do that for them and pull really heavy weight as well, which is really cool. Alrighty, so now that we got the big horns there, and I might have exaggerated the horns, and that's okay, like the size of them. Sometimes we exaggerate things. We're going to draw the little slanted lines for the ears here. But sometimes we exaggerate things just because that's the most important part there, and that's what we recognize as that animal. So when we're making a cartoon version or whatever of this animal, sometimes it's okay to just exaggerate it just to make sure we really get the idea that, oh, this is a CARABAO. It's not just any other kind, it's this specific kind, because look at those horns. Just like if you're drawing a giraffe, you might draw the neck extra long just because it makes kind of drives home the point that it is a giraffe, and that's really its most distinguishing feature. That's what makes it most different from other animals. Okay, so we're going to do a little curve here to kind of have the ears, kind of like a cow's ears. Kind of like a cow's ears. All right, so now we got to draw the eyes. I'm going to draw the eyes by just doing little circles here. I'm going to give them kind of big eyes just because it's a really friendly CARABAO. It's a farmer's best friend in the Philippines. They are super, super helpful to them. All right. So we got the eyes. I'm going to have them kind of looking off to the side here. There we are. The little pupils in there. I like to make them bigger so that they look friendlier. So if you can kind of fill it in, if it makes it look less creepy from the beginning. And then I'm going to probably draw in some of the little details on the face. Like maybe I'll make a little line there for the mouth. Let's kind of do it here. Maybe a little nostril. So kind of start with a circle here for the nostril, and then you'll kind of flare it back here, a little curve back here. Almost like a raindrop, I guess. There we go. There we go. That looks good for the nose. And then maybe I'll draw some other lines here, but I can kind of do most of that with our marker here at the very end. But I'll probably add like a few little details like right here and maybe up over the eyes. Okay, we'll go back and finish up some more details on the face, but first let's go ahead and work on the main body of our CARABAO. Like I said, they're big, made for working, kind of bred to help like farmers like pull plows through their fields, especially big wet fields. But they were also used for transportation. So they would pull Filipinos around the island on either carts or things like that. And including, like I got this one painting when I was living in the Philippines, and I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful painting by a friend of mine. And you can see here that there's this massive cart full of all sorts of things like handmade goods and things. And I saw these actually when I lived there. They would come out and sell their goods to different towns by just bringing that big CARABAO and pulling this massive cart full of goods that you could buy, which was really cool. So they have all sorts of uses, but they are big, strong animals, and that's important for their job. All right, so I'm going to kind of draw this big curve back here. You can kind of go through it. We'll erase that later. Kind of emphasize that big, strong back. Again, I'm exaggerating a little bit just because it makes it a little more interesting. And I'm going to kind of go up for where their bony back end is, like this. And then it kind of comes off to a, so if you want to draw a little diagonal line over here, and then I'm going to start bringing it back in. So this is how, a lot of four-legged creatures look. We talk about that back leg being kind of funky, right? So this one's no exception. So we're going to go in, we're going to go out a little bit, and then we're going to come back in. That's kind of the trick on these legs. Now I'm not going to go really all the way to the bottom because I got to draw the hooves, but I'll draw those after I've drawn all the legs. I usually like to save those to the end just to make sure they're all lined up. So we're going to draw kind of a backwards C shape, little curve right there. And then we're going to kind of curve it into the leg. Right there. There we are. Now we have to give them a big belly. They do have big bellies. They like to eat. And you know what they eat? They eat a lot of aquatic plants. Those are plants that are growing in the water. And they eat those like reeds and things. They do a lot of that. And so they kind of graze and they got these big bellies on them. So we draw that big belly. And then we're going to draw, let's see, the other legs in the front. We're going to kind of do a little slight curve like this. We're going to simplify the legs a little bit. Makes it easier to draw for us, and we don't need to put all the detail in there, I don't think, right now. Now, if you're looking at this saying, I want to put all the details in, then put all the details in. You can do that. So we're going to do a little C shape right here to kind of show that muscle there on the shoulder. And then we're going to go kind of even it back out with that leg. So they're all kind of this similar thickness. There we are. And I might want to go through and erase some of that line in the middle. So instead of just connecting this all the way to here, they have also a little bit of fat, I think, or skin that hangs from the front. So we're going to kind of add that right here. We're going to kind of droop it down and bring it to about here, like this. There we are. And then behind that is going to be the other leg. So the other legs are going to be on the other side. So we'll draw it behind it. I'm going to do the same type of thing. We're going to kind of you could do a straight line or kind of a slightly curved line like I'm doing right here. And I'm going to kind of bring it in like I got that muscle like we did right here. And then we're going to go all the way back down over there. All right, so we got 3 legs. We got to have that 4th leg right here in the back. And we're just going to kind of pull that one, just mimic the same line right here, that same angle. We're going to kind of pull it forward. And then I'm going to do the same thickness as the other ones and kind of round it off when I get up about here. So you can tell that it's getting thicker. Yeah. Awesome. He's really coming together. I don't know his name yet. I'm still thinking of a name. Be thinking of a name for your CARABAO or your water buffalo if it's easier to say. I've also heard it pronounced CARABAO, so maybe that's easier and you can use that. All right, so we got our big water buffalo here, Philippine water buffalo. Let's add the tail on the back side. Just gonna have it hang down. Little line right there coming off the back, going straight down. And then and we can, if you want to make it a little bit thicker so you can see how thick it is, that's fine. And then let's do kind of a little shape like that. There we go for the end of the tail. All right, so let's put on the hooves. These are my least favorite part to draw. I'm just gonna tell you, not my favorite part to draw. Sometimes I just like draw them just flat on the ground, and maybe that's kind of what we do. We just curve it off, and then on the back side here, you kind of clip it off like that. Yeah, maybe that's how we do it. I like that. And then of course we have the ground here to kind of show us where the bottom is. So I'll kind of draw it like that. Maybe go out a little bit over here, out a little bit right there, and just call it good. Yeah, I think that looks good. That looks good. And if you want, you can also draw the little split in the hooves by doing that. Wow, I think it's looking pretty good. Are you guys liking how you're just turning it out? Cool. Okay. Well, then let's see. What else do we have to do? Maybe I'll add some with that. I'll do this with the Sharpie that I have here. I might just add some lines in here, and maybe some other little details with the ears. But not really sure. I think this is a good spot to stop and just start outlining. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. So I'm going to start with the back side here. Kind of work my way towards the front. So they spend a lot of time in water, especially muddy water, and that actually helps them because they actually need that, because the Philippines is really, really hot. It's really hot over there, and the sun beats down on you, especially in the fields where there's no shade. So they need water to be able to, especially muddy water, to be able to kind of cake on their skin to keep them from, getting burned from the sun, and just protects them from the sun. So they like to spend time in the water, and they like that mud. Kind of how pigs like to wallow around in mud. Helps protect them from heat. All right, so I'm going to go through here. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else I want to tell you about the CARABAO, besides the fact that they are just all over the Philippines, and they're really cool looking. They're really, really big animals. The males can get up to about 1,000, and I think it's like 1,100 pounds, I think is the biggest males get. But those are really, really big animals, and they're really, really fun to see. So thank you guys for bearing with me and drawing a really neat animal today. I know it's not a normal one that you're familiar with, but you know what? We're kind of running out of those. We're starting to run out of those because we've done so many cool animals. And this one I just thought would be so fun because I've always wanted to draw one, and they mean something special to me for my time that I lived there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the drawing here, or the outlining, and then I'm going to jump straight into color. So if you want to pause at any moment and catch up, go ahead and do that. But I'm just going to move on. I'm going to kind of fast forward through here. We'll just catch up at the end. How does that sound? Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think I'm done. Now I got a little carried away with the colors. The colors were kind of got away from me. Some of these were really dark, and it's kind of hard to do, kind of mixing colors with markers. But regardless, I'm happy with it. Generally, CARABAOs are like a grayish color, so I thought that's kind of boring. Maybe I'll make a little bit of blue or purple. So that was my thinking. But I hope you guys had a lot of fun making this. Hopefully you had a lot of fun coloring it too. It didn't have to be the exact same colors, but this was definitely fun to do, and thank you guys for drawing with me today. It always is the highlight of my day. And I did come up with a name for my CARABAO. His name is going to be Manny. Manny for Manny Pacquiao. He's a famous boxer from the Philippines, and I thought, they're both really strong, so it might be a good fit. So Manny it is. And before I'm finished, I need to sign my work to make sure everybody knows that it's mine, and I'm owning what I made, and I'm really proud of it. So I'm going to go ahead and sign my name right here. or at least my initials, and we're calling this illustration finished. Thank you guys again. Happy New Year. I'm so excited for this new year. Hopefully you guys are too, looking very positive to the future, and looking forward to more fun videos. So take care, and remember, be brave, be creative, but most importantly, be you. All right, we'll see you guys.